All right, what's up and welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. This is Win or Lose Chiefs News. I am your host, Alex Liu, and this is my channel, Liu2 Productions, episode number 11 of the podcast in the 2025 season, recapping the season-ending loss to the LA Chargers. Yeah, everything pretty much sucks right now. I have a wide range mix of emotions: sad, upset, pissed off from that game, disappointed, frustrated, angry, really just fed up this entire season, all of it, all together at once. This is the first time missing the playoffs in a decade, maybe a little over a decade, I guess technically. The last time was the 2014 season, so the second season in the Andy Reid era. And this is the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era that we are not going to be seeing postseason football in Kansas City. You know, I think what's the most disappointing is that there was such high expectations, not just for this team to continue being good, competing. Standards have been set so high, but there was just such an expectation that we would bounce back from the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles last February. That was a blowout loss, a horrible day to have a horrible game. You know, there was a lot of talk about how we were going to respond, and instead we just completely flopped right on our faces. We failed big time. We're only 6-8. Not that the final 3 games matter, but we won 6 games. We lost 8, but very much like just below average, really. But this, to me, might actually be the worst season in Chiefs history during my lifetime, and I'm 33 years old. But I say that because of those expectations, and I can recall in 2012 when we went 2-14, and it was just a horrible year. There was a tragedy that I'm not going to get into. I mean, there was the year, I was a very little kid at the time. I don't actually remember when it was going on, but the year that Derek Thomas died. There have been bad Chiefs teams and bad Chiefs seasons, but I think when you don't have expectations on a team and you're a team that is in the basement, you're not expected to be good or to compete or really to do anything. I think there's just such a difference when you have a team that has been dominant for 7 years and to just fall so far and just have just a horrible, horrible season. Last Sunday kind of culminated the end to our season in really the worst way possible, and that is because of Patrick Mahomes' ACL tear injury ending not just his season, and our season was over anyway, but now we're looking ahead in the next 9-10 months of hoping and praying that he will rehab well enough to even be ready for the start of next season. And it's more than likely that he will probably maybe miss some time in September and maybe even October. So we could be kind of right back to how we started off this season without Rashee Rice. Just this feeling of emptiness of like, oh, well, we're not going to be at full strength, although we really won't be at full strength without our franchise quarterback. So that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to keep this a lot shorter than my past videos. 3 main takeaways for today. Before I continue, as always, please hit that subscribe button, leave me a like and a comment, share this video, share my channel, Liu2 Productions, and also follow me on Instagram. I would greatly appreciate the support. Thanks, guys. Takeaway number 1. Obviously, you have to talk about the devastating ACL and LCL injury to Patrick Mahomes. All right, so I just want to preface this by saying that I watched the game live, as I always do, and when I saw Mahomes go down, everyone, including myself, knew that doesn't look good. All right, get him out of the game, shut it down. He's already had a nagging knee injury for some weeks now. I don't know if it's been the last couple of months or if it's just been the past few games, but I don't know if maybe that led to this or if this was just, despite his knee injury, this was just a case of bad luck with seeing how his knee buckled twice on that final play where he was trying to escape from a tackle. And I don't know if the tackle itself made anything worse or if he tore it on the first or second time his knee buckled. But I did not check any news really after the game other than kind of watching the post-game pressers. And I remember Andy Reid saying that he would get an MRI either later that night or the next day. Anyway, I go to a beer league hockey game that night, and I actually had 2 that night, back to back. And in my second game, one of my teammates who is a Giants fan, he was just saying to me, hey, really sorry to hear about the Chiefs and Mahomes. And I just kind of said, thanks, man. But sarcastically, I was like, don't feel too bad for us. We don't deserve anything right now. I mean, we played like crap, so we don't deserve anything. And then he just said, yeah, no, I'm just trying to be nice. And I just, felt bad about Mahomes and his ACL. And I responded and I was like, what? His ACL? And he said, yeah, he tore his ACL. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Like, I was just hoping that it was maybe like a bad sprain, or he just further aggravated whatever that nagging knee injury that he was dealing with. And instead, it was worst case scenario. He tore his ACL and LCL. Thankfully, no additional damage to other ligaments, I think is what Andy Reid confirmed on this past Monday. And he's, at this point, I'm recording this on Wednesday, December 17th. So Mahomes has already had his surgery Monday night down in Dallas. They moved very quickly. He's already going to go through the rehab process really as soon as possible. I don't really know if he just has to wait until post-surgery, any kind of swelling, any of that to go down before he can start rehabbing. But I will be monitoring the news and checking things on Instagram and seeing what he's doing with his trainer these next, couple months, how things start out. I think when you talk about the injury itself, the fact that it took place in the final 2 minutes of the game really is just, it left me just shaking my head. Like, this was already just a slog of a game. I knew this was what was going to happen. I think most Chiefs fans just knew it was inevitable the way we've been playing really since the Broncos game. Every game just looks like the way last Sunday did, and it just gets worse and worse. And instead of just being able to escape the final 2 minutes and the game, shut down Mahomes for the season, okay, we lose the game. Instead, this happened, and it just makes everything feel a lot worse. It didn't really come off to me like some freak accident. It clearly was not like a huge hit or anything. Like I said, his knee buckled twice, taking some of those last steps, trying to throw on the run. Thankfully, it sounds like the surgery was successful. No setbacks, no complications or anything. So that's all in order. Like I said, no additional ligament damage. That's also good news. I just think why this hurts so much as a Chiefs fan, for Kansas City, everyone who just loves Mahomes, is we're just thankful that we have him and everything that he's done for the city and for the team, the franchise. So first and foremost, just want to say, love you, Patrick Mahomes. We're going to pray for your recovery. But just kind of going back to the end of the game and the play itself, I mean, here's the thing. If he doesn't get hurt on that play, we bench him, shelf him for the rest of the season, 3 meaningless games. You just kind of cut your losses, right? So my worst fear, I think, just beyond is he going to be ready for the start of next season? I just hope that this is not a case when he does come back that everyone always says, including Mahomes said, that, he's going to come back stronger than ever. But there are a lot of guys that don't. I just hope that this is not a case where his knee is never going to be the same. I just hope that the rest of his body doesn't overcompensate and then he gets hurt again next year or in the future. I just hope it doesn't lead to secondary injuries, kind of like Joe Burrow and what we've seen with his career, how it's always something. Like, he had a bad turf toe this season, got surgery mid-season, came back. Joe Burrow is one of those guys who has not been able to finish an entire regular season healthy. I don't know if he's ever played a full season, except maybe the year that they went to the Super Bowl, maybe. So I just don't want that to happen to Mahomes. I'm also frustrated just because I think selfishly, I'm not blaming Mahomes. I'm just more so annoyed at the situation. And maybe it's more towards the coaching staff, but I just think that this could have been prevented. Like I said, he's been battling this knee injury for at least, the second half of the season. I will say one thing that I'll put on Mahomes is that he's taken some unnecessary hits. Sacks, trying to extend plays, getting hit out of bounds. I know in the beginning of the season, he was really trying to will this team and he was trying to lead by example and kind of establish a tone of physicality. But I just think in a year where so much went wrong, it was a lot of him kind of forcing things, extending plays, taking late sacks, taking too long to just get rid of the ball, trying to make something happen because he used to be able to do that and it just wasn't working this year. But again, as I said earlier, I mean, this injury it's kind of a fitting end to not just how the season ended, but how the season went as a whole. It didn't start off well and it didn't end well. Rashee Rice was suspended to start the year. Xavier Worthy goes down on the third play of the game, also against the Chargers to start the season. In this game itself against the Chargers last Sunday, just so many Chiefs players got hurt. I'm pretty sure a handful of Chargers players got hurt as well. Both teams were already banged up. A lot of depletion on the offensive lines for both sides. At one point late in the game, it just kind of felt like every other play, a Chiefs player was down after the play was blown dead. And we were cutting to commercial break. Guys were just hobbling off to the sidelines. I think the Chiefs kind of caught a bad injury bug this season. This was also just a rough day to play football, even at home for the Chiefs. Very cold day. Lots of guys getting nicked and banged up, stingers, going back to the sidelines, trying to come back out and continue playing. Big picture, again, it's no one's fault. These things just happen. The same teammate that I mentioned from my beer league hockey team, he actually sent me not a meme, but he sent me this screenshot, I guess he found from social media, where it listed Mahomes, Micah Parsons, Daniel Jones, a bunch of guys who have had torn ACLs, Achilles this season. Tyreek Hill was on that list. And it's just further supporting the problem with the NFL and how guys are still playing on turf. Guys are being forced to play a number of games with limited rest in between games. They're being forced to go overseas, go down to South America to play on surfaces that aren't well maintained or prepared. They're being asked to play more regular season games. There's still consideration to add additional regular season games in the future. Guys' careers are just going to be cut down shorter. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why guys are getting hurt, and it's just like this gauntlet that the NFL insists on putting these guys through. How many guys can make it through the season not as banged up so we can get a Super Bowl between the two teams who just seem to kind of, grind it out and get there? To think that the NFL used to play 14 regular season games way back in the day. High school and college still only plays 12. The NFL, by the time I started watching football as a kid, was at 16 regular season games, and that felt like enough. So now that we're at 17, and I mean, they want to add an 18th is what I heard last. I'm not in favor of that. Yeah, Mahomes' injury doesn't just affect the offseason, it affects the beginning of next season. I thought back to what Brett Veach said after the 2020 Super Bowl loss to the Buccaneers, where Mahomes was running for his life. He had no offensive line protection. Our O-line was depleted. We had a bunch of backups. And he said, we are going to protect Mahomes so this never happens again. Well, I just feel like we have said that. We pretty much had to say that again after the Eagles Super Bowl loss. And so now we have to stop messing around with this. We cannot jeopardize the health and safety of Patrick Mahomes. We've already paid him so much money. He is our past, present, and future of this team. So I want to see that actually put into action. I want to see the offensive line really reconstructed and solidified. So that needs to be priority number one moving forward into next year. All right, takeaway number 2. We are what we are. A 6-8 team for a reason. The record does not lie, and it tells our story perfectly. All 6 games we won, probably except for the Colts game, we deserve to win. All 8 losses, we pretty much lost mostly on our own. We have no one but to blame but ourselves. Most of those 8 losses pretty much happened the same way, with the Chiefs shooting themselves in the foot multiple times, yet still having chances to tie and or win the game. Nobody this season blew us out. No one dominated us like the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. We did not have any repeats of that. We started out 5-3, and we were thinking, okay, we'll get Rashee Rice back, and we got him back for that Raider game. We won the very next game against the Commanders, and it seemed like things were looking up. The season, was headed in the right direction. And then since then, over the last 2 months, we've been 1-6. At a certain point, that's not bad luck. It's not bad luck anymore, and there cannot be any excuses made for Rashee Rice's suspension, Worthy getting hurt, he came back. It became a pattern, a really problematic pattern. I'm just going to kind of rattle off just this laundry list of issues, but it's things I've talked about week after week now. Penalties. In the Charger game, I noticed so many missed tackles. A week before against the Texans, all of a sudden we couldn't catch the ball. Pretty much all season long, except for the Colts game, we have not been able to establish the run, nor have we committed to it. The reason Mahomes has taken late sacks, has run out of the pocket, tried to extend plays, is because his receivers are not getting open. And I refuse to believe that they can't get open. I just don't think that they're working hard enough to get open. I don't know what happened to our scramble drills, but these guys are just not getting open the same way that guys used to. No one's coming back to the ball. I've said it enough times. It's just they're not getting open. And at a certain point, what is Mahomes supposed to do except throw the ball away if guys aren't going to get open for him? We have known for a while now that the offensive line cannot protect him long enough. It's not just the fact that the O-line was a weakness heading into this season. By the time enough of our starters got banged up and we pretty much had a Frankenstein crew of backup second, third, fourth string offensive linemen in there, I mean, when you know that that's the issue, you know the game plan is to get rid of the ball quickly, run a lot of RPOs, try to run the ball. Nothing could work. And red zone turnovers is probably the worst thing about the offense this season because it is literally the top reason for why we have lost games when it's come down to it. And I think what I'm really frustrated with is seeing inexcusable mistakes, particularly from the veterans. Okay, last week, 2 weeks ago now, Kelsey had the drops. He's had 2 drops this year that were tipped up and made for easy interceptions by the Texans and the Eagles defenses. Chris Jones, going to be a future Hall of Famer. Last week against the Chargers, I watched him line up offsides twice. They announced on the broadcast. I could see it from my own couch, watching on TV, his head over the neutral zone, over the line of scrimmage before the ball was snapped. The first time it happened, they didn't call anything because a timeout was called. When they resumed play and they were running the same down, it was either a third or fourth down, he's lining up offsides again. And that time they got called. And if they didn't call that, if he didn't line up offsides, the Chiefs were going to get off the field. They got some kind of a stop on that third, fourth down. If I can see his helmet hanging over the neutral zone or line of scrimmage watching on TV, I just don't understand how he is not aware, how no one else on the D-line notices. I mean, it's his fault ultimately, but nobody on the coaching staff being like, hey, Chris, you were lined up offsides. We got away with one. Get into position, like back up, like back up a foot, okay? And I've seen Chris Jones do this before, not just in this game. I've seen him do this pretty much his entire career. I just don't understand how you can have mistakes before the play even starts. I mean, we thought it was bad enough that Juwan Taylor can't seem to line up correctly, can't seem to not have his back leg all the way in the backfield, lining up too far behind the center, and that's why he's going to be gone after this year. This is just fundamentals. This is just simple mistakes that can't happen, and this is just a microcosm of why we are 6-8 and why we can't seem to do anything right, is we are just shooting ourselves in the foot before the play even begins. But a lot of this year was came down to not being able to execute. At a certain point, even if we don't agree with play calls, the scheme, the strategy, the game plan, even if the play calls are right, guys, we're not executing. We clearly have talent, but it was wasted because of lack of execution. Nothing really matters if you can't execute. Other teams are plenty banged up. Every team basically is facing injuries at this point in the year. The Chargers are arguably more banged up than the Chiefs, and they have been for quite some time, and yet they hold a wild card spot, so it's not an excuse. I'm just tired of a lot of these excuses. Rice's suspension to start the year, our own injuries. It's just excuses. I mean, you can't sit there and just say, oh, we can't be expected to run the ball or protect because we've got backups on our offensive line. I mean, other teams are able to run the ball. Other teams are able to give their quarterbacks enough time to throw, and their receivers are getting open. They're just dumb excuses. I think the Chiefs just finally got so tired and exhausted, dejected. They were very undisciplined against the Chargers in this whole season. They played like a bad football team. To their core, I don't believe we were a bad team, but we sure as hell made it our mission to play like a bad team this year. The Chiefs' defense kept us in games this year. They allowed us to, quote unquote, be in a position to compete. Without our defense, we probably wouldn't have more than 2 to 3, 4 wins total, if I'm being honest. The defensive problems obviously are lack of pass rush, not being able to get turnovers, not having any playmakers or game changers on that defense, no ball hawks, no one that is making things happen, no one instilling fear other than maybe Chris Jones up front to opposing offenses. Our offense was mostly to blame for losing games. We took so many points off the board ourselves, and we failed at smart situational football this season. Takeaway number 3 from this game. We had multiple chances to win, even despite what took place over the course of the game, and especially there at the end. So how this game slipped away. After leading 13-3, seemingly getting ready to go into halftime, a bad kickoff return play by the Chiefs special teams allowed the Chargers to return, I think, to about the 40-yard line, if I'm remembering correctly. It wasn't a huge kickoff return, but it was a field position-wise a good kickoff return. That allowed the Chargers about half the field to go down, and they took advantage. They ran hurry-up offense, and they got points. They got a touchdown, their only touchdown of the game, might I add, right before the half. Okay, so Chiefs are leading now 13-10. The Chargers only scored 6 points in the second half. The Chiefs scored 0. That's like the black and white of it. Even trailing 16-13 in the final minutes, the Chiefs had 2 chances to either tie, potentially end the game in a tie, at least force overtime, and maybe even take the lead and win. The first chance came when, and this was also after multiple drives of, again, offensive incompetency, dysfunction. It still came down to, we were deep in the red zone. We had a chance to score. And look, this is also the Chiefs offense that even after the interception they actually did get in the game from Ashton Gelati, they couldn't punch in a touchdown, but they got a field goal. Well, at the end of the game, Mahomes tries to throw to Kareem Hunt and throws a really bad interception. That took away a tying field goal opportunity from Butker. Second chance, get the ball back. Still down 16-13. Mahomes goes down with the injury. Gardner Minshew comes in. Even though this was his first time coming into a game since the Raider game, they were actually moving the ball downfield. They took over and they got past midfield. They got into field goal range, just barely, but they were in field goal range. And then we moved backwards. Delay of game penalty. I don't know how you do that in that situation. Just like everything this year, we make one mistake and it just snowballs. Because then just a couple plays later, I think, Minshew throws that final game-ending interception, trying to hit Travis Kelce, and he's being covered by the best defender on the Chargers defense in Derwin James. I think what infuriates me the most about all of that is Butker did not get a single chance to kick a field goal in the second half. He made 2 in the first half. Didn't get a single chance, an opportunity in the second half. Both interceptions, bare minimum, took away the chance at least a minimum of 6 points. Even if he had, missed one, missed both, give him the opportunity. I think where my head's at is, if we would have tied and then the Chargers went down and won the game, you got to hand it to them. Yeah, would it have sucked that our defense couldn't get a final stop? Sure, but it would also point to the offense not doing enough. You can't realistically expect to win, especially a game like that where you only score 13 points. Our offense just continues to lose games when we are turning the ball over late instead of giving ourselves a chance at points. I think sometimes what I'm starting to miss, and I never thought I would say this, is I actually kind of miss the days when we had Alex Smith and he was a game manager. I love how Mahomes has been aggressive, takes chances, and goes and tries to win, but sometimes there needs to be more of a balance of when to be aggressive, when to play to win, and not playing not to lose, but just game managing, knowing when to concede and just play field position, get points. If your kicker misses, okay, it's on Butker. You gave him a chance. It's overall all of that would be better than losing by being careless, which is what we were. All right, so to wrap up this episode, just looking ahead at the offseason and what needs to change with this team. The last 3 games, starting with the Titans this weekend, I am going to watch, as I usually do. I'm not just going to throw in the towel and not watch the last 3 games. I mean, they're kind of like preseason games in a way, but I want to see what the backups do. I want to see us try to build or rebuild some, even just a glimpse of positive momentum to finish off the year on the best note we can possible. In my opinion, we should sit all first-string starting players at this point to avoid any more injuries. Chris Jones included. I mean, he got banged up in the Charger game. Nick Bolton has been banged up left and right this season. I just think we need to sit all those guys. If there's anyone who is on a contract year, I understand maybe playing them. If there's anyone who they're going to be gone after the season and they want to play, I guess I understand playing them. Travis Kelce, I don't really understand why you'd want to play, but maybe he just wants to play some football before he most likely retires. I'm not going to be stressed watching these games. I'm not really going to be taking any notes for my blog or my podcast. I'm just going to be evaluating. I don't care if we three 3 and out and punt all game long. I just want to see what are we going to do to give guys playing time and what are we going to try to do to just get through these games. The Chiefs have some serious organizational issues, in my opinion. I think these are deep-rooted systemic things. It goes beyond an injured O-line that is less than ideal. It goes beyond not having a pass rush on defense, the aging of Travis Kelce and him moving on, most likely. Our problems, we need to actually build, reconstruct, and solidify an O-line that is not only going to protect Mahomes, but that he can trust, like truly trust, and not feel like he needs to rush to get rid of the ball or he needs to escape from the pocket because it's collapsing. Like an O-line that he feels like he can trust, like what he had when he first started playing for us back in 2018. We also need a true workhorse running back. We don't just need to develop a running game. That much is obvious. We need a running back who is a workhorse. Pacheco's not getting it done. He really lacks vision, patience, and discipline, being able to navigate the gaps in rushing lanes. Even when the holes are there, he's not finding them. Kareem Hunt's getting old. He's taking a lot of hits. I wouldn't mind having him as like a third down, short distance back, as like our third string running back. But we need a true workhorse, someone that we can lean on to carry the ball 20, 30 times a game, someone who is going to be able to average at least 5 yards a carry and get some explosiveness, make it so that the offense can lean on the run game and not have so much pressure for Mahomes to manufacture everything and make things out of nothing. I don't know if Andy Reid is going to do this, but he and his offensive staff, they need to shift the offensive philosophy from passing to running, because the NFL has kind of cycled back to the importance of the ground game, because we had a number of years where everyone thought it was more exciting to air it out, throw it deep, spread the field. But now we're really seeing the importance of, you can wear down defenses, you can get nitty and gritty, just like the old days of football, by having, your star running back, even a carousel of 2-3 guys who you can hand the ball off, and you can really let the run game kind of dictate the tempo of a game. On the defensive side, first and foremost, the guys who have been paid big, like Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, I want to see them show up consistently. They're making too much money to just be damn near silent and non-existent, and I'm tired of all the excuses of, Chris Jones is getting double teamed. Other guys have got to step up and take strides forward. Hopefully we get Norman Omar-Lott back from injury for next season. Hopefully Ashton Gelati can take some strides forward. We really need a pass rush, the ability to get pressure on quarterbacks and at least disrupt and affect timing. If we're not going to get sacks, we've got to create more of a disruption. Otherwise, there is just nothing that is keeping opposing quarterbacks from just picking apart our defense and having these long drives that are just they end up making our secondary just look like crap. And I want to see us get back to drafting someone who can really be a ball hawk. I know Marcus Peters had his character issues, but he was really the last guy that took risks, took gambles. He was one of the few Chiefs players I've ever seen force so many fumbles. Like, he really got in there and knew how to strip the ball out. No one is doing that right now. I said it earlier, no playmakers, no game changers. No one causing or forcing any turnover opportunities. On special teams, I'm not saying that Dave Toub needs to be fired, but I just don't know if he's lost his touch or something. I don't know if there's some kind of an issue of failing to adapt to the new kickoff rules and the dynamic kickoff format. His unit has really taken a step back these last couple years, and this year it's gotten really, really bad. We can't seem to cover on punt and kick returns without holding or blocking in the back. We're not covering very well on our own kickoffs or punts. We're giving up returns. Butker definitely had the worst season of his career. He missed a bunch of field goals. And that's why I say I don't know if Dave Toub needs to be fired, because at the end of the day, he's not responsible for Butker missing field goals. I don't know if the way that Butker has changed his technique, I know he got hurt a couple years ago. I don't know if that's affecting some of this. Hopefully Butker, there isn't anything long-term going on, and this was maybe just a shaky year for him. I don't want to hear about fans calling for Brett Veach or Andy Reid to be fired. It's just a laughable overreaction. I mean, look, this is one bad year after a stretch of 7 dominant years. I also don't think Spags should be fired. I think he did as good as he could with the defense this year, and they just didn't give him much in return. We've had 2 stints with Matt Nagy as offensive coordinator, and I don't like it. I don't think it's working. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy worked much better together than Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy, I think, needs to move on, and I don't know, maybe Dave Tobe, maybe not. Jawan Taylor definitely needs to be out of here, and I think a lot of other veterans and free agents that, like, we just need to part ways probably with guys like Charles Omenihu, who didn't really do much this year. I love Mike Pennell, but he's older. Derek Nottie also probably needs to go. So just a quick reality check. We definitely need some serious roster turnover, reevaluation, and reconstruction. I want to see the Chiefs get back to younger, faster, and hungrier. This might not be a matter of just this offseason and next season figuring this out. Like, we might need a year or two to really reset, especially since Mahomes is going to be dealing with this injury. I don't know if it's going to be realistic to expect, not that the Chiefs can't make the playoffs next year, but are we going to get back to a run? It might not be time yet. I don't know. But we do need some time to reset, identify an approach for life after Travis Kelce. I've been saying that all year. The league has been on notice since we won 3 out of 5 Super Bowls. We can't live in the past anymore. We saw the way things really ended in a bad way when we let the problems really get too big. We need to see a new version of the Kansas City Chiefs in 2026 and not us trying to be like our 2018, 2019, 2022 selves. Just to end this episode, again, episode number 11, I'm not happy. I'm sad, but it's helpful to talk this out. I'm always going to love the Chiefs, of course. I'm really thankful looking back for the run that we've had, and I hope it's not over, that this was a bad year and we take some time to, maybe get on another stretch of runs in the next couple of coming years. It's just time to really get things corrected. We can't just continue to slap Band-Aids over and just think that Mahomes and some other people are going to account for or be able to make up for any of our deficiencies. So I'm hoping we can bounce back when Mahomes returns, but like his long road to rehab and recovery, it might be a longer road to getting back to being a real contender unless we can really shake and change things up this offseason. Okay, I know I said this was going to be a lot quicker. I did run a little bit long, but thank you as always for listening, Chiefs Kingdom. We will get through this together. Let's just try to watch without any expectations the last 3 games, knowing that things are done, no playoffs for us. I'm your host, Alex Liu. This is my channel, A-Lu2 Productions, and this is my podcast, Win or Lose Chiefs News. Check out my blog on WordPress. I'll leave the description below. Please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, comment, share this video, share my channel, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys most likely next week. I'll probably do another podcast after the Titans game, but then going forward, aside from weekly blogs, will probably turn into either bi-weekly or once a month, and I'll probably just start podcasting once a month once we get into the off season. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time, and as always, go Chiefs.